Welcome back to Nerd Twin and Movie Podcast. I am very happy to announce today that I have a very special guest joining me on the podcast, Darsan Solomon from the hit show Community. You might have heard of it.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. We had a little minor technical difficulties a little earlier, but I mean, other than that, it's been all right.
Yeah, we got it sorted out.
Yeah, one way or another, it was going to work out.
Yeah.
So obviously, this past year has been really crazy. How did you make it through the pandemic? And I mean, I saw that you post on Instagram that you got your vaccine. So you're
I got my first shot.
So you had the 2-shot one?
Yeah, I got I like to make it a verb, so I got Pfizered.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I went to CVS where they Pfizered me, and they gave me a card proving that I have been indeed Pfizered. But yeah, it's
how did that go?
I didn't realize just how hypodermic those needles are now. Like it falls somewhere between getting blood drawn where you feel like a pinch and acupuncture where they can stick you 15 times before you realize they've begun. So it was just like, oh, that's it. And then you just sort of sit around for 15 minutes, make sure you don't turn into a balloon or start clucking like a chicken or develop superpowers, and then you can go home.
So you have not indeed developed superpowers?
Unfortunately, no. That was kind of a bummer. So after I didn't develop it, I was like, well, I'm just going to go home with my non-superpowers and go take a nap or something. I don't know.
I guess I'm just normal. Shucks. I guess, but at least you got the vaccine, which is a big thing, and
yeah,
it's good to see that it's slowly starting to get back to normal. It's obviously not back to where it was pre-pandemic, but it's definitely a little bit better now.
Yeah, like I'm in LA and traffic's already pretty much like 95%, which sucks because it's traffic. So,
well, I mean, that's a sign of things going back to normal at least. So, I mean, that's at least a good thing. But all right, enough of the depressing stuff. Let's move on. You watched WandaVision. What did you think about the show?
Well, first of all, because I'm part of the TV world, I just love their perfect attention to detail, like starting from like the 50s and then going through the decades, and just how they not only nailed each time period they were going for, ending with like a Modern Family, Parks and Rec style sitcom, single camera, but they could shift decades, cultural references, aspect ratios, sound quality, and it always felt like the same show all the way through, and I love that about it. So it makes me feel really good about the MCU going forward.
Absolutely. No, I said it on the podcast. Cinematically, it's definitely one of the best entries in the Marvel universe, hands down. I mean, because they even use like practical effects and everything per the specific speed. Like it was really impressive, and I'm a huge fan of it too. So I definitely know how we all get sucked into these things. Now that we have the next one now, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Slight spoiler warning. We're not going to talk too much into it, but I mean, if you haven't seen anything, I'm sure we'll say something that might spoil it. So if you have, see you later. But this show for me, I think is is going to hit way too close to home to a lot of people, more than they're expecting. Like the topic and the themes of this show are very poignant to the time frame we're in now. Like with all the police brutality and all the violence towards any minority. I mean, whether it's the murders in Atlanta or Miami Heat player just saying the K word, like I don't know what it means. I mean, it's definitely, it feels like 2020 still a little bit with some of these things are going on, but
yeah, it's almost like I'm not sure if this is actually 2021 or just 3 2020s in a trench coat stacked on top of each other.
I like 3 2020 stacked in a trench coat. I like that one. I'm gonna start using that. But no, so this show, it's gonna be real. Like there's gonna be a lot of racial tones to it because
like I've seen the first episode, and it's like I'm not gonna spoil anything because I'm sure a lot of people probably haven't seen it yet. But well, first off, from the get-go, it sets its own tone, and it's something that the MCU hasn't done yet. So I like that they're just continuing to find new, unique ways to tell stories for certain characters.
Right.
But also, it has a way of, it addresses the issues, but it doesn't directly say it, but you know exactly what they're talking about. That yeah, and also I just like how they're now doing world building, because we had Spider-Man Far From Home where we sort of see like the aftermath for like Peter in high school, like how he's dealing after everything, and then WandaVision, how she's processing what happened, and now we're seeing how Sam and Bucky are processing the world as it is now.
And
So they're
right,
gradually building on that.
it's Joe. It's great because, like, and especially when you look at the time frame, like Spider-Man is set months after the events of both of these shows, and we're just now getting these, filling the backstory and building out, like you said,
Yeah.
to really tell a really cohesive story. And I'm loving this episodic release because it lets them focus on a specific part of the storyline instead of having to throw all this action in. Like there was, granted, Falcon the Winter Soldier started our boom right away with action, but
Oh my God, it felt like I was watching Mission Impossible. It was insane.
and it was great. And but then it immediately switched tones to a real life thing, like him speaking Arabic, like that. That's something that, like, a little like subtle thing that you wouldn't see in a movie, in my opinion, because they're trying to like sell. When with the Disney Plus shows, you've committed. Like you've got the subscription and you're gonna watch it week by week unless you absolutely hate it. So they can try a lot more things than they could have gotten away with in the movies prior.
Yeah, because they have the time to do it.
Right. Well, because these are basically
One reason, but also they're expanding on
yeah, these are basically just like the movies, but they break it up and make it even a little bit longer because like WandaVision was close to 5 hours, I think.
Like five and a half, I think.
And apparently, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is about 6 hours, so it's basically like getting two movies just spread out over a couple episodes, and I love it personally.
Yeah, and it's focusing on characters that were always supporting characters, and now they're front and center. So it's like Wanda was always sort of there because of mainly the X-Men issue, and now she can be front and center. Like, who knows if she's going to be mutant or not? But you actually got the focus on her and really focus on Vision, or who she remembered Vision being. And then now we're actually seeing more of Sam and Bucky, just like really focusing on them instead of just how they related to Captain America.
Right. No, exactly. Like you get to see like how tortured like past experience can leave on people. Like in the MCU, at least these two installments are very like psychologically based. Like the WandaVision was, all the stages of grief, and this now looks more like fighting your demons and then things that can really relate to a lot of people more than just like a superhero billionaire. I mean, these are more like our stories. But like, yeah, Wanda obviously has superpowers and she's one of the more powerful people in the MCU. But I mean, you look at like Monica Rambeau, she was a regular human, and then now she's got superpowers. Like, and she didn't need those powers to step up. Like, she was willing to sacrifice herself numerous times as a human. So like now you got this great character with superpowers. Like that wouldn't have been introduced in a movie before. Like it had done like this, and I'm here for it. I'm just so here for it. Like it's just like it's been a true pleasure to watch the Disney Plus shows, and this is just the beginning. So
yeah, I wish I could I'm still trying if there's some role I could be in the MCU, I'd love that, because I just love how first off, when I saw Iron Man, I was like, oh, this is actually different because they're going for more of a superhero comedy approach, but one that really worked. And then they started going up more into superhero drama, and then they just started figuring out oh, this works. And then they just created this unique, expanded cinematic universe that's just continuing to grow. And it just from a writing standpoint and an acting standpoint, it just I would just love to be part of that somehow, because it's just this is incredible what they're pulling off.
Right, that would be the amazing. That would be the first time. I mean, there have been a lot of community actors who have appeared in the MCU.
I know, right? That was mainly thanks to the Russos, though.
Well, I mean, while they're out for now, I've said it numerous times. If they come to them and say, "Do you want to do Secret Wars?" they'll be back. Give them either a two-parter or a trilogy, and say, "You give us the Secret Wars," and they will be back in a heartbeat. And that will be what you think. Endgame and Infinity War was good. I can only imagine what they would do on the Secret Wars. I mean, that would be you talk about Avatar breaking records. No.
Yeah.
They'll have to make a whole new category for the Russo brothers content.
Honestly,
let's take them out of the equation. It's not even fair anymore, guys. It's not fair. And a lot of people that are huge fans of Community know, but some people don't know that the Russo brothers actually were part of the Community early episodes, and they did the paintball episode early on, and that is, according to a lot of things I've read, one of the main reasons why they even were approached and got the MCU jobs, because they saw what they did with that episode of Community and was like, wow.
Them and Justin Lin for Fast and Furious. Like, it's not often that something you do on TV like that translates to, oh, would you direct this, or would you do something with this?
No, and I'm just so thankful that it happened, because they did such an amazing job with all those movies, and I hope they come back in the future. Hopefully, the Secret Wars. So you're obviously an actor because you were on a hit show, Community. But so how did you get your start in acting?
It was like my last year of high school. It just sort of happened by chance, where it just oh, this seems like it could be fun. Like, I'd sort of dabbled in acting here and there, just maybe once in a while, growing up. And then finally I thought, hey, I mean, this seems fun. Let's actually see if it's worth doing. People were telling me I seemed to be good at it, so why not? And I sort of got my foot in the door fairly quickly. I went to a showcase program, got a agent through that, which is pretty not that common, especially how quickly it happened with me. And then a year later, I ended up on Nickelodeon doing Victorious, which I didn't know that was going to be a recurring role until they saw me and they're like, hey, he's funny, let's keep him.
That's always a good, so when you initially got that role on Victorious, you thought it was just going to be one episode?
Yeah, they ended up taking me out of that episode because they wanted to introduce me proper.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, and see, and that just shows. You said it doesn't happen like that as often, where everything just falls into place. But for the right people, it does. When you go follow things you want to do, and if it's supposed to, I hate to get all spiritual, but if it's meant to be, it'll be. You can't just yes, hard work and everything. And I talked about this when I had Jason Douglas, who's a comic creator. He was like, he's very similar to you. He just kind of showed up somewhere at a Comic-Con and talked to a guy who owned a comic book distributor, and just pitched him the idea, and it just happened. And he was saying, you can't say luck, because it's not necessarily luck. And I agree. You have to put in the work. You got to have the talent, obviously. But when the stars align, they align. There's just, you can find another way to explain it. I'm all ears, but whatever. So then you did the Victorious. So how did you end up on Community?
While I was doing Victorious, because usually when you appear on TV, it makes it easier to book other stuff. I got an audition for a Sprint commercial, and I think they played it during Super Bowl, but they played the hell out of that commercial. It was back when they were starting to introduce unlimited data plans. This is oh my God, 9 years ago. But it was they had there was one where they had this little girl dressed as a tree for a play, just saying how her mom ran out of data and can upload it. And then they had me in a graduation outfit, just saying that my mom used the last of her data to upload a cat video. And I was just I've already seen it, Nana, 100 times. So that was playing everywhere. And then Jewel Bestrup, the casting director for Community, saw it, and she was just who is this guy? I gotta find him. So she did all this stealth sleuthing to find me. And then she brought me in to meet her at CBS Radford, where they were shooting, where her office is. And they eventually shot season 6 of Community there, because they were shooting on Paramount before. And then season 6, they went to CBS Radford. So she brought me in, met me, she's yeah, I just kind of want to make sure you're not a psycho person. I'm okay, great, because you invited me all the way out to the valley. I have no idea who you are, so I want to make sure you're not a psycho either. So I think we're on the same page.
And you think about now, looking back, you didn't know that commercial was going to be a way for you to springboard onto, in my opinion, one of the greatest shows on television ever. I honestly believe, and I've said this numerous times, that it came out, unfortunately for itself, at a wrong time, because there was too many other shows that were just mega hits that couldn't be stopped, that had the exact
but at the same time, other shows I think were able to follow because of what it did. But it's also, I think, Scrubs was sort of the same way, where it was so what it was so unique, and it came out too early, but that's why it aged so well. But yeah, so Jewel brought me in, I met her, and then she was like, okay, I want to find a part for you. And I'm like, oh wow, this is really cool. So she also cast other stuff, like she cast Scary Movie 2. She's like done like a lot of really big comedy stuff. So really cool that I ended up meeting her like this. So I think they're working on season 4 at the time, and they kept bringing me in for different things, and it never worked out. And then season 5 comes around, and that's when I come in.
Yeah, and that episode where Jeff becomes a teacher, and you know,
Yep.
and I have to admit, I watched the episodes again today, and you really stole that scene, like, because Jeff, and everyone hasn't seen it. I don't know what you're doing with your life, but so Jeff, you know, going through the students, I'm not gonna learn names. He was like ski cab, and then he gets to you, and he was just like, I better learn names, and you were like, and without a skip beat, Dave, and you just go in. I'm just like, and you just shut down Jeff Winger. Like, I mean, it didn't. You know, sometimes when there's someone who's acting poorly and they just play it for the scene because they want to get the cut. You know, you can tell. I mean, he literally was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna learn names. Yeah, no, it's just your character just seems to like be kind of like the fly on the wall that talks. Like in the later episode with the where they had the commercial about the dog graduating, and you walk in, you're like, they're starting to bring us in more, and then like you get cut off. Like we won't even get 5 lines in, and then they cut you off. And I was
I shit you not. I didn't believe that was my line when I first got the script. Like I said this before, David. It just like I was reading it, and then I go back and I'm like, wait, this isn't a transcription of my conversation. This is actually what I'm saying in the show. Did they spy on me or something? Like, what is this? But it's just like, I've never seen a character introduced so meta like that. And then it's just like, because I mean, the show is meta by nature.
Yeah.
Which I think, like, and then the end with Paget coming in as Frankie just saying, so as an outsider, as a humble outsider who came in and nailed it.
And you know, she did too. Like, because people like, and I get into arguments with people online because they always complain about obviously the 4th season, the gas leak year, and then when some of the reoccurring characters started falling off, they're just like, oh, it was horrible. But okay, first of all, Community at its worst is better than I'd say at least 80% of shows ever on their best day. So even with like the 4th season where people don't like it, there are like bits of pieces in there that are just gems, like the Winger.
Oh, there's still like hilarious parts in there. It's just like, yeah, like that was when people figured out, oh, Dan is what makes Community. It's not like other shows where you just have a template and you can just pass it on to someone, they can figure it out.
Yep. Nope.
So it's like, I mean, like, yeah, I'll still make a bunch of jokes about the 4th season being the weakest one, but still, it's just like, it wasn't really the new showrunner's fault, because it's like they didn't know what they were getting themselves into. And they did the best they could. And we still had some really great moments in there.
No, absolutely. And I talked about a couple weeks ago on my podcast, like that the Jeff Winger speech to his dad is one of the best moments in the entire show, in my opinion. It lets the character be as broken as he really was. And that was another thing that happened all throughout Community too, was that they just had no problem showing the character's faults and letting them be those faults, and not trying to hide them or masquerade them as something else. They just straight up said what it was.
Yeah.
So who was your absolute favorite castmate to work with?
Joel, just because just creatively we hit it off like really quick. Like our first scene, we had I think it's part of why they cut me, we improvised a ton in the scene. Like it just started happening. Like at first when he gets to me, it's like, maybe we better do names. They actually tried a few things, and like just sort of having me respond differently each time. Like, and then we are just like, yeah, it's better to just imply he didn't want to come off as racist instead of him accidentally doing it.
Right.
And then at the end of the scene, we kept going again and again, and it just like all these different things. Like a lot of that stuff inevitably will end up on the cutting room floor because of time. But
right.
We improvised so much, and then yeah, it was so working with him, and also I got to work with him more than the others just because of I was taking his class. I was taking Jeff Winger's class.
Well, you
But
know, I'm definitely gonna check the because I have the complete set, the Blu-ray with all the like deleted scenes and everything. I'm gonna actually check that out and see if they have like a reel of that on the Blu-rays. And
like
like,
I looked at the gag reel, like nothing of that ended up there. So like maybe it's in deleted scenes. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But yeah, it might be worth looking for.
I'll definitely let you know if I see it. I'm gonna be like, oh my god, I found it. So
But yeah, so I was brought in for introduction to teaching, and it was weird. Like Joel and Allison and like some other people are telling me like, yeah, you'll be back, and I'm just like, really? And it's like, yeah, you'll be back. And then like the coordinator on set was like, yeah, you'll be back. And then I got more calls for more episodes, and they just never panned out. And like there were like a number of reasons, but it just didn't work out. And then the show got canceled. And I'm like, oh well, I mean, it would have been nice to come back. And then season 6 came back, and then around like the day after I found out Community came back, I got a call asking if I wanted to come in again.
and of course you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And then yeah, that was when I met Gillian for the first time.
oh yeah, because she wasn't in those. See that because when you came back, you well, I don't know if it was the first episode you were back, but it was when they had the Shirley Sandwiches episode with the bar in the background.
Yeah, and I started the speakeasy. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, definitely you were the one that gave him the idea. It's like, well, I'll call it even for a drink of Mr. Winger. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, yeah, that's right. You were the catalyst.
Yeah, it was the catalyst. Oh, you know what? Jeff passes the bottle to Britta. One of the takes, he missed the throat. No, she missed the catch, and the bottle almost nailed me right in the face.
And that
it was just the moment the bottle left his hand, the bottle leaves Joel's hand, and I just see his eyes widen as he realizes he didn't throw it right. And then like it was just like a slow motion where I thought I was going to get knocked out on my first day back.
Well, that would have been a memorable first day back. So how did they go? Oh, I got hit in the face with a bottle. What? You heard me. So all right, so out of the cast members that you didn't get, like, could it be from any season? Who do you wish you would have got to work with?
Donald, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I was coming in just as he was leaving to work on Atlanta. And then I would have liked to work with Yvette as well. Like we only just recently met because on 6 seasons on a podcast. That one I did a joint episode with her. So that was our first time ever communicating. And it's that actually is pretty common in the industry where you can know the same people, work on the same shows as someone else, and you just might not meet. Like we were both on Victorious. Like she came in to recur as the Helen Dubois character from Drake and Josh. And yeah, and then like she became principal of Hollywood Arts, and then I joined afterwards, and she didn't come back to reprise the character, but we knew the same people. And then my first day at Community, I never had any scenes with her, so I never met her. So, but yeah, it would have been fun to do some scenes with her too, because she's great.
Yeah, and she's like, it was really good to see is that so many people from the show like just went on to do their own things. Like, how many of them have their own show right now? Like, Kim got 2, Joel has 1, she has 1 on Disney Plus. She had her own movie that she like knocked out the park. I mean, like, and that's during all the crap that's happened. I mean, it's just amazing. Like, and even some of the showrunners, the writers, they're now working the MCU, writing like the Ant-Man movie and all this stuff. I mean, it's insane what like. It's like the 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon. It's like the 6 degrees of separation from Dan Harmon. Like, honestly, everything just spawns off of that. Like, and I've heard from on the Darkest Time on podcast and different interviews that like especially when Padgett was talking about like when she got the part, they're like, it's Dan Harmon. She goes, oh, I know it's Dan Harmon. I still want to do it. What was your experience working with Dan?
He has like this really chaotic genius, and nothing that I'm about to say is like anything incriminating. Like he said it about himself, but he would be like really like probably drunk every time. I can't remember working with him where he wasn't drunk or something. I mean, that's part of why he had issues with Sony and with like NBC and all that stuff. And like he's admitted it, and like, but he's just like this. Like we'd sometimes get like last minute script changes. Like for the series finale, Seth Green showed up last second because Joel asked him to come by. And then Dan was like, "Oh, Seth's here." And then we had to wait like another hour and a half. And then like it was my last day on shooting. I think it was the last day actually of shooting. And I kind of wanted to keep in touch with people, but nobody really wanted to talk because it was 3 a.m. and we just wanted to fucking go home.
Well,
But yeah, he's I love his process because there was an inside joke at the show that we called it the show's like Stockholm syndrome. It's like we were suffering but we loved it.
Well, when you work on something that's just so amazing, I mean, it definitely makes it so even if it's hard to do or it hurts making it or even especially hurts leaving it, it's still something that is so amazing that you're just happy to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I love like I'm addicted to the show. I've watched. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen the entire series. Like, but it like I said, it's such a great show that any pain was worth it. That's what everyone has said in all the interviews. Like I've seen, everyone's always like, "Oh, it was hell. It was absolute hell, but I wouldn't trade it for the world." And
that's very accurate.
I mean, but nothing good ever comes easy. So I mean, it just shows that the effort was worth it, and that's just something that I just revel in and just love. And I love hearing like the creative process, like how like you just came on set and like they were just like, okay, we're gonna bring this guy back, and you're like, really? But they could see it. They knew that you had potential to do things in the show and not just be just somebody in the background. Like you could.
It was really nice how that it's nice when you go into any show and people treat you like that. Because even when I showed up like a year later for Ladders, Joel sees me. He's like, "Hey, I told you you'd be back," and I'm like, "Oh wow, he remembers. Cool."
The famous guy remembers me. That's awesome.
Yeah, even in the shoot script I have for when it comes up, it says. Let me think. Oh yeah. After we had that sign spinner idea, and then it's like I know about the human side of business, and on the script it says, and then Dave from season 5, episode 2 comes in, and I'm like, oh, they had it down to a T. That's nice.
I made them think about me. And like I said, you stole that scene, so it's not like they were just like, oh, we're just gonna, we like him. No, they're like, because when you, especially with someone like Joel, who is the main character, like, I mean, there's the whole cast of main characters, but the show is from his point of view. So, like.
Oh, yeah, one of the takes we didn't use, he just improvised a line and go, "Hi, Mr. Wenger, nice class today." And he goes, "Eat shit, Dave."
Oh my God! I feel like he used that later just with what was the guy that he always Leonard. he was like, "I'm gonna make him the new Leonard." and like you hear that, I could totally see that being like in the show, like that would definitely be a Jeff Winger thing to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he was like, I had this plan. I'm not going to learn people's names. And this guy came in and ruined it. Eat shit, Dave. Like, I can totally see that. Oh, my God. I almost wish that happened now.
I know, right? Like, I mean, I laughed really hard after the fact, especially since Gillian, we had to do that take so many times because it was like she had to catch the bottle and then stylishly get the cap off and start pouring it. And she'd keep either failing to get the cap off or she'd pour and it would just completely miss the cup.
Oh, yeah, it's so funny.
I'd be like, Gillian, you're betraying the shot.
I watched that episode today and like I actually, in my head, I was like, damn, she got that cap off clean. And like not hearing that, it was like, oh yeah, clean after.
It took time. I mean, that stuff's not easy, but it took time.
But at least we know it actually was real, because you would see things like that in certain shows, and they would just be like, "Oh, look, I did it," and they would just like CGI the cap flying off. There was never a cap on there to begin with. Like, so
right.
That's good to hear. They definitely Dan's not like that. No, we're not going to CGI a freaking cap. Gillian's going to get it right. So you were on Community. So have you heard any rumors or anything about the movie?
I mean, I know as much as you do because I'm recurring cast, so like they would need all the main people to like sign on first. So I just hear the rumors same as you do. Like the last time I really heard anything was right after the reunion table read for that season 5 episode. And yeah, and then after that, I think like a few people said like they might have gotten a call from Sony just asking, and then Dan said like, yeah, conversations are happening that people would really like. But yeah, I know as much as you do.
Okay, I had to ask, just had to throw it out there. I mean, and you know, even if anyone knew anything, they wouldn't tell me. Like they would be like, oh no, like in the MCU, like, I don't know if you noticed that, but like the person who got cast for She-Hulk and the person who's playing Kang the Conqueror, they were leaked that they were playing. They're like, oh no, there's no truth to that whatsoever. No, I don't think so. And then Kevin Feige, like 2 months later, was like, by the way, look, they're actually cast as the people they said they weren't. Like,
Surprise, surprise.
so I mean, like, even if they knew, they wouldn't tell me. It's fine. I feel like it's just a matter of time too, like that it will get made. But you know,
I feel like just for the sake of it now, like the movie just kind of has to happen. I just don't know how or when it will. I mean, I'd love for it to happen though.
Yeah, and I obviously
it'd be a really nice sense of closure.
Yeah, well, like I said, the show ended great, and while it was fantastic, there could be a little bit more. Just a little bit. Just a little. Like I pitched my theory that it should be a wedding, whether it's Jeff and Annie or Annie and somebody else. Because I feel like one way or another, the only way for Jeff to truly move on would be either to fully commit to her or fully give her away. So I could see her being either his wife at the end, like some people want, but Dan being who he is and giving us what we need, not what we think we want. I feel like she will end up marrying somebody else, and Jeff will give her away. And that
I mean, I'd much rather that because, like, I mean, that whole study group is, as Frankie said, codependent.
And
or synergy.
With him, like, especially because, you know, he always needed that family that he never got, like, growing up. So, like, when he found this group, he latched on with all his might and didn't want to let go.
Yeah.
And that's what left him stuck at Greendale. I mean, obviously, his lawyer firm didn't really pan out very well, but still, he came back to Greendale instead of going somewhere else. So I can see it like being that. And I think the way that obviously everyone's all spread out, what would bring them back together is Donald's character being rescued. Because
I'd still laugh really hard if they decided to go that route. Like, I'd always thought, like, what if like they actually went for like the rescue thing or something, but like, and then mixed paintball into it somehow. I'm still fun. I never got to be part of a paintball episode. Like,
oh man,
one of the ones I did might have been the one where they had the inmates on iPads taking classes. I think that was like the week after, and then I found out, I'm like, you guys did what without me?
Why did I do paintball? Well, like, I always thought like it would be that like they could definitely bring everyone back. And I even think that Chevy could come back too. I don't know if it would work with all the like the backgrounds, like the actual like real life implications of him coming back, but like his character could have faked his death.
Character come back? I'm not sure he'd want to. He never liked the show, so.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't know if that part would work, but you know, like for like the story aspect, I'm sure it could. But
story aspect is good, but real life, Chevy, he never liked the writing. He always complained about it. He was always trying to be difficult. He got his arm dislocated once because he wanted to insist he was stronger than Joel, and he was like, punch me, and he was like, okay, and then they had to pause shooting because his shoulder popped out of its socket.
All right. Joel is like a monster of a human being. Like he's like
I know.
He's like one of the nice people on the planet, but looking at him objectively, that man is like you take a superhero action figure and you just put him in the real world. Like,
yeah, he's got the chiseled jaw and everything.
And oh my god, I'm telling you, I actually, so they mentioned they released that the Blue Beetle movie is going to be coming out. It's going to star a Jaime Reyes, and I pitched it to the director. Joel McHale needs to play Booster Gold. Who should get?
Yeah, I could actually see that.
It's like I like literally Jeff Winger, but with future tech pretending to be a superhero.
Yeah.
It fits perfectly. So I literally the second I heard that it was happening, I messaged the director. Like he even like saw it. Like I know because he shared it to the page. Like oh my god. Like I send messages to people all the time. So when I get that scene, I'm just like, oh my god. They actually read my message. I actually like spoke to Rosario Dawson through Instagram like about a month, like 2 months ago, and I was like, I literally like walked around like flying for like a good like oh my god, Ahsoka Tano just messaged me and said they're the pussy with you. Oh my god, like something so little like that like just changes everyone's day. Like that's why I again thank you for doing this with me. That means a lot. So you were in a new movie recently, right? Like it came out on a BET movie, right?
Yeah, it was called Never and Again. It was it's one of those rom-coms that like it sort of had like a Hallmark vibe to it, but like yeah, where it's boy loves girl, boy fucks up relationship, time passes, they reconnect, can they make it work? So yeah, that's streaming on BET Plus right now. It's called Never and Again.
So what was it like being like? Because that's like because you've done mostly TV shows, right? This is your first movie?
Yeah, that was my first movie.
So
unfortunately, just for timing or story, whatever, like a lot of my scenes didn't end up making it. Like I'm in a couple shots here and there. So I mean, it just is what it is. But it's different being on a movie because TV, especially if you have like a regular or recurring role, like I did on Victoria Sam Community, like TV, it's just like you come here for you get your week schedule. Like at Nickelodeon, it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday were rehearsal days. And then on Thursday and Friday, like Wednesday, we'd have a run through, and Thursday and Friday, we'd shoot. Or maybe we'd do a run through on Tuesday. And then if I was doing back-to-back episodes, you just sort of prepare like, okay, and then you know you're shooting these scenes this day and these scenes this day, and you get all the drafts and whatnot. Community was, they were trying to be more respectful of our time, not because of respect, but just because that show went overtime literally every day. And they couldn't afford to have me more than one day if they didn't want to. So that was just my like, okay, like you got your stuff, and then I'd literally hang around for hours until we finally shoot because Dan would rewrite everything. And then but for shooting for Never and Again, it was like I booked it, and then a few months out, it would be like, okay, our first shoot day is this. And so then I went to on location at a place in Beverly Hills, like a community center. Mm-hmm. And then we spent like a few hours there. Shot there, and then after that was done, a few months later, we went to a church in, like just on the outskirts of Silver Lake, and we shot there. So like the timing of it is definitely different just because of how scheduling works, especially if you're shooting on location. Mm-hmm. So it just like TV happens really fast. Film definitely takes its time because like I shot in 2019, then the pandemic shut everything down for 2020, and then it finally aired this year. Mm. So there's definitely a lot of that. Yeah, we worked on this, but is it going to, okay, I hear it got made. Is it going to release? What are the distribution plans? Like, is this going to fall through? And I can just say I did it. And so it's a lot more up in the air that way when it's a movie.
So like, did they keep you like updated, like, or your agent or whoever is like working with the production? Did they tell you like, as of the pandemic moved on, like it's pushed back again or anything like that?
I even just I just look on social media because obviously like directors and producers, when they have a project, they're going to push it as much as they can, especially with an indie film. Right. So I figured if they had something to say, they would say it. So I figured it'd just be easier just to look on Instagram, see if there are any updates, and it worked. That was mainly how much the cast found out about the release date anyway. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
Well, congratulations. I mean, that's got to be one of those achievements that, I mean, like you said, even though some of your parts were cut, I mean, you still are, you have a movie that you were in. Like, that's got to feel amazing.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's still, it feels good to say like, yeah, now I've done TV, commercial, and film, so.
Triple threat.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever thought about doing any voiceover work?
Yeah, I've actually been doing a lot of auditioning lately for voiceover. Just that was one of the shifts that happened with the pandemic. My agent started sending me out on more voice stuff. So that's pretty fun. Like actually getting to be in a sound booth. Like I've taken to it pretty well just because I figured it's like just because the camera's not on me doesn't mean I can still move around and have fun with it. So
Right. Well, no, that's what if you watch any like the like especially with like Hugh Jackman when he's like doing his takes for Wolverine, he's literally like running in place and like pretending like you can't like. I'm sure there's some people who are talented enough to just like stand there like this and do everything like they need to, but like I feel like any like genuine like actor would be like I gotta feel it. Like you can't just like just stand like a robot and do it. So like that's
exactly.
so was it like the was it like a backdoor like there was on that episode of Community where Chang got the role with the Spielberg movie and then they're like
I looked for a backdoor. There wasn't any on my booth. And they brought in Randall Park.
That was so good. Like tell Steven that I don't. Oh, he's right here. Hi, Steven. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
I love that Ken, and when Ken did Dr. Ken at the end of the series, he brought back that joke where he's like doing Chang, and then Dan goes, "Is Randall Park still available?"
No, because that's how his show ended. It was basically like him getting a role on a Community show.
Community, yeah.
Did it actually say Community? I didn't see the final episode.
They didn't actually say Community, but just like hey, I'm doing a show like about you'd be a Spanish teacher at a community college. You're going to be reading with Allison Brie.
That's awesome.
And then they had Vicky and Garrett sitting in the class. They brought a few people back for that.
And he actually, one of the Darkest Timeline podcasts, they had a meet and greet. I actually spoke to Ken, and like it was like it's so funny seeing him as these characters when you've actually spoken to him because he's not these crazy like evil people. Like he plays so brilliantly. So do you feel like Dave was like more like who you are, or was that just more just a role you stepped into?
I mean, it's more a role I stepped into because I wasn't really there long enough to hold on a second. One sec, sorry, something else.
Stand by. Wow. We wait.
Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, I didn't really get to be there long enough for them to really figure out what they could do with me. Because it's like I've even seen it, like sometimes I'll look at like character ratings, like all the characters that appeared in Community. I'm still a little salty about like someone did an Endgame's credit style thing and they left me out of it. I'm like, dude, I was in the show more than some of the people you included in here. What the fuck?
That's messed up.
I was so excited because Joel shared it. And I was so excited, and then I watched it and I'm just like, I'm not in this. Like I actually wanted to be in this. You kind of got my hopes up. But I was just kind of there. Like they brought me in season 5. I came back a whole season later. I started Speakeasy. Then I have a meta acknowledgement of what I'm going to be doing in the series, which is just a few lines here and there. And then I'm taking class, bullying an inmate via plant in front of an iPad. And then I'm in Jeff's nightmare sequence of all the meat puppet students around there being at the study group, and I got a deep threat from Todd.
That's one of the funniest scenes in that final episode. Like when Todd looks at you and goes, "Anything can be done if you try hard enough." Like a person's head through a 6-inch pipe. What? I was just kidding, man. Like when I watched that, like I every time your reaction just like, what? It makes me laugh every time, and then I oh god, this because they have
their decision to cut it right after he raises his hand for the high five was perfect.
Yeah.
But the first time I got that, I read that, I just thought, you know what? This is a really fucked up thing to say. Let's just give it a moment and just sit with it so everybody can think about what he just said. And then I did that, and then then the director came out and was like, "Oh my god, do it again." Oh, hello, doggies.
Well, hello. This is my Lil Baka. He's my personal Wookiee.
Oh my god, hi.
Say hi to all the people.
phase.
Oh yeah, I love you too. Okay, can you go lay down now? Go ahead. Go ahead. Thanks, buddy. Sorry. I know you have a dog. I've seen all your posts.
Nelly.
How's she doing?
She's good. Yeah, she's just she enjoys having people at the house all the time, because then she can walk over when you're in the middle of something and be like, "Hey, you have two hands and they're not petting me. What's the deal?"
That's like my dog. He's got this thing where he goes and says, "I'm gonna say it low." He just looked at me like, "Oh my god, what?" Like he like flips out. Like when we get to their house, like he just starts jumping up and down and like yelping like sounds I've never heard. And like so like when he sees them, I'm just like, you know what? You're not even mine anymore, are you? Like you love Grandpa. What did you love me?
I thought what we had was special.
You're
just a little slut, aren't you?
You're sitting on the floor tonight. That's it. So, do you have anything anything in the works? Like, I know last time we talked, you said you were working on something. You working on anything now?
Still working on that thing that I can't really talk much about, but yeah, pandemic totally derailed that. So, still trying to figure that out again. But other than that, just been reading for some cool parts. Like things are starting to open up again. Like I got availability checks for a couple projects recently that just for one reason or another just didn't happen, either due to shooting complications or they changed direction at one point. But I'm like getting calls again, so that's really cool. Like, oh, and also because I'm vaccinated now, I think I'm really hoping SAG-AFTRA like does like a vaccine mandate, because I want to do normal scenes with people again on set. But yeah, if everybody's required vaccinated, that would make me feel better than just doing a temperature check.
Right.
Like I had in November or December, I had like a callback for something that I'm pretty sure they went with the person that read right before me, because he was in there for a while and they brought me in and I was just like in and out so fast. I'm like,
okay.
But they actually wanted to do an in-person audition, so we all had to stand down outside and it was really cold. And then I get inside, I have to stop shivering, and then they have like all these plexiglass walls set up and like a special place, like, okay, if you need to empty your pockets, you got to do it right here. And I just felt like patient zero reading for this commercial. And I'm just like, yeah, this is I don't see this being very practical. And then next time I read for that casting director, it was just done over Zoom instead.
And that's like everything happening like with the pandemic, like the transition to being apart together. I mean, like there's a lot to be said about people who that still try to like at least get some semblance of I'm gonna say the old world before this.
Before times.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking about this the other day. I was like, we're living through a time that in like 60 years, someone's gonna cheat on a test about what happened in 2020. They're gonna be like, 2020, what happened? Was it a pandemic, an epidemic? What? Damn it!
I feel like it's going to be you're deciding your major for school, and you say, oh, so what are you going to study? I was thinking of doing liberal arts, maybe a little bit of women's studies for a semester so I can act like a woke feminist. And then the other person's like, oh yeah, well, I'm doing 2020ology. And they're like, holy shit, man, that's a 6-year program. I'm proud of you.
That's dark, but okay, we support you. It's just like, oh man, like this. I will admit that like some people, like some things happen, like what happened with the pandemic and being shuttered inside. I mean, it did well for me. I mean, my grandmother did pass last year, but I mean, other than that, I did so much, like because I had the time to focus and follow what I wanted to do. So like, I mean, this podcast only started because of that.
Well, you had that. For me, it was a little tricky because like I had the time, but it just wasn't the right circumstances. Because like, oh, I have time to do things, but I can't go anywhere. My industry shut down. So yeah, I have time to do things, but this isn't right. So it worked for some people, not for others. But yeah, this is life-changing for sure.
Yeah, and thankfully, it looks like it's getting there. I mean, it with more and more people getting vaccinated and more things like people actually listening to, I don't know, scientists and doctors.
I mean, that'd be great. They kind of know what they're talking about most of the time.
Oh no, it's all fake. No, this is just propaganda. They're trying to microchip us, man. They're trying to microchip us. No, they're trying to save us all. To take the damn shot, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, but
the whole reason I did a Twitter thread was to show like, hey, it's not that hard to do. If you qualify, you will know when you qualify. You just go, you get the shot. Your arm is sore for a little bit, and that's kind of the worst thing that happens. Otherwise, you're just really tired. And then you get the second shot, and maybe it's a little worse, but other than that, you just made your life and everyone else's safer. So,
right, and that's the thing a lot of people don't get. It's not just for you. Like, you could infect someone without showing any symptoms, and they could infect someone. They can infect, like, it just keeps. That's how it spreads.
Yeah, and it's like, do you really want to be that guy? You really want to be that guy that got your friend's grandma killed because you coughed in her general direction?
No, exactly. I mean, some of the people, like, I work at a state college full time, so it's actually crazy. They're talking about opening, because we've been seeing everyone remotely. So, like, I still have to go on campus, and we're all spaced out. Where I wear 2 masks all day, but like, now we're opening the doors. Students are going to come in next week. They put plexiglass up, and I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, this is gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, I need my job, so I'm going to do it. But I mean, it's at the same time, I'm like, are we sure we should do this now? Like, we're almost through. Like we're almost through, people. Why are we pushing it? Like,
I know, right? Speaking of double masking, I'll say this, and then I have to get going.
Okay.
So usually I have enough distance, and like sometimes I'll do double masking, but whenever I do that, there's a lot of moisture buildup. So it gets, and then that will make my nose run, and it makes me want to sneeze. So recently I had to, I injured my toe really badly. I'd like to say there's this epic story for it, but there's not. It's just my bed was in the middle of my room, very well lit, and I just walked right into it. And my toe started changing color. And with my complexion, if something's changing color, that means it was a really bad wound. So I go to Kaiser, and they're like, please double mask. And they're like, if you're coughing or anything or sneezing, we need to turn you away. So I double mask. I'm in there now. My nose starts running, and I realize, oh no, it's starting. I have to start sneezing incessantly. So, and I'm like, so they're getting me x-rayed. I'm trying to keep it together best I can. I can't lift my mask to do anything. So finally I go into the bathroom, and I start sneezing like 6 times in a row. And I'm like, blow my nose like crazy. And I just walk out of the bathroom, and people who are close enough are just stare like mortified. And I'm just like, bye. And I just
nothing to see here. Well, I again, thank you so much for joining me, and wish you luck and the best in everything you do. And hopefully we get a community movie and you're in it, and everything gets better from here on out.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Hey, take it easy.
Bye.